Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my Takeout, my Emil Amok's Takeout. We're here. It's Halloween. Are you dressing? I put on some clothes today. Maybe I'll go as my Benny Agbayani 50 jersey. 50 to remind you that vote on Tuesday for 50. He was number 50 for the Mets. Best position player, Filipino-American position player the last 20 years in MLB. Yeah. Benny Agbayani. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about November 5th. November 5th, a very important day in Filipino American history because Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez and I will be talking about Filipino American history, the one that just passed. And it's our post-mortem about Filipino American history. You can catch it live in person at the San Francisco Public Library. Yeah, it's free. 100 Larkin Street next Wednesday at the Hormel Center. Third floor. The Hormel, it sounds bigger than it is, but it's just a little room, a nicely appointed room to sit around and record a podcast and to talk about Filipino American History 2025. And the significance of Daniel Phil Gonzalez coming in there is that he is a piece of Filipino American history. He was one of the original strikers, if not the Filipino American, on that picket line at San Francisco State, the very strike that brought on Asian American studies, ethnic studies, Filipino American studies, first of its kind in North America, I think. Now, if I'm like, if I'm exercising a bit of hyperbole here, I'll have Dan come on and correct me. In fact, let me bring Dan on now, because we're just doing a tease on this. Dan, am I being hyperbolic? Were you you weren't the only Filipino on the strike lines, were you?
You were being extremely hyperbolic for a couple of reasons.
Oh, suddenly a pang of
extremely
modesty.
hyperbolic. Okay, you're gonna ruin our credibility, man. I mean, you keep that stuff up. Okay,
you weren't the only Filipino.
Let's bring it back down to earth. Okay, there were several Filipinos. Let's put it that way. To my knowledge, there were only 75 Filipinos, registered Filipinos, who said, I am of Filipino ancestry, attending San Francisco State at the time.
Okay. Just 75. And how many were on the strike line?
Oh, I'd say probably 20, 25.
Yeah.
Taking turns here and there.
All right.
I would say most people were trying to get finished and get the hell out of there because they didn't know how long the strike was going to last and how it was going to affect their chances to graduate. So there were a lot of people who really wanted to graduate. They were in favor of the strike, but they didn't walk the line. Okay, they instead attended class.
How many people were on the line?
Overall?
Yeah. How many Filipinos were on the line?
Well, it's not all at one time. We took turns, and so there may have been as many as a dozen on a day when there was a high police presence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I would say never more than 15 or 20 at one time. Right.
Yeah. All right. But this is in 1968, right?
68 and 69.
69. And this is the significance of having you there in this talk that we're having about Filipino American history, because we're talking, I mean, there is no ethnic studies, no Filipino American history without a strike, right?
Yes.
I mean that's the truth.
That's true for a lot of reasons. We could talk about some of the detail next week if people want to show up.
Well, we only want to tease them now, Dan. We only want to tease them now. But
the other thing is, I personally spent very little time on the strike line, on the picket line. Okay, it's good for demonstration purposes, and it was every day. Okay, and it's good for all of that. It was risky because of the police presence, which grew and got much more violent. Okay, especially when more people who were not from SF State came, the so-called outside agitators. Actually, they were sympathizers who came from other campuses who were also students, and in some instances who were also conducting demonstrations at their own colleges in universities elsewhere in the Bay Area in Northern California. Okay,
Right, but
so my work was mostly what I called the quiet work, and there were several of us that were engaged in that, and that primarily turned in after February of 1969, which was the second semester of the strike. Strike
Mhm.
started in November, right, of '68, and that quiet work was going to meetings
Yeah.
and drafting courses and
Well,
contacting people who might be future faculty for us.
yeah,
That's the kind of thing that we had to get done in order to have ethnic studies as a reality in the fall of '69.
but this
That's
is the
the kind of
thing.
work that I was doing.
Well, this is the thing. The quiet work is the important work because without that quiet work, you don't have a department. You don't have a claim for courses. You don't have claim for curriculum. It's important work, and so. And I know you're being fairly modest here because you are a modest guy.
No, I'm not.
But I know you're not. But I think it's important as we do a postmortem on Filipino American history we not just talk about Filipino American history and we're going to react, we're going to do a postmortem of this month 2025 and but I think it's important to go to the very beginning, which is
Yeah, yeah.
we don't have Filipino American history or Asian American studies without the San Francisco State strike. We don't really have it.
Well, there was a strike going on at Berkeley as well. It started a little later than ours, and they like to claim that they were the first ethnic studies program. Okay, but and they do that because they say they had a promise made to them earlier in March than our agreement, which was signed on March 20th. Okay, but then we retort by saying, yeah, well, but our classes started in late August, early September of '69. Yours did not, because at the time they went quarterly, and
Well, all right,
quarterly
look.
falls. They don't start till October.
Well, all right, Dan, we're going to get into this. I'm just doing this as a
No, we're
tease.
not.
So,
That
yeah,
stuff takes
no,
too much time.
no. This is going to be a tease so, so that people show up at the free event at the San Francisco Public Library, 100 Larkin Street, San Francisco, the Hormel Center, the LGBT. Well, it's at the third floor. It's free. It's at 5:30. Tell your friends. It's. I think it's interesting because we're going to get into how are people reacting now, and what is the atmosphere now with ethnic studies?
Yeah,
With the current administration, it can't be very good if they're going after everything woke. It
yeah.
can't be good. So we're going to get into that, and that's why we didn't do this in October. We could have done it in October, but we're doing it in November
Well,
because
we were too busy in October because
we're
there's so much stuff going on in
yeah,
October.
yeah. So it's good. It's good that we're
The
finally doing it.
Filipinos are really wide awake, and they
Yeah.
got all kinds of celebrations and commemorations going.
Yeah.
And there's people of my age group, a little older than you, right, who are engaged in all this stuff. We've got people who have successfully run for elected office all over the place, and they have to show up at all of these events. It's really difficult.
Yeah,
We
but
ought to streamline the event scale a little bit.
well, but this is the thing. This is the explosion of diversity, right? Because without it, you get, it's all voluntary, and you may or may not get it. Like, no one's looking for people to speak on Asian American studies anymore in May, or in federal government offices. That used to be a thing. They'd invite you. No one's looking for a Filipino to talk about Filipino American studies in October, or if they are, it's they have to sneak it in under this under a different thing, so it's not diversity. It's just straight out history, but this
I
anti-diversity
still get
movement.
invited. You're right. You're right about government agencies and private corporations not
Oh yeah,
doing
private
that
car.
as much as they used to. They used to do
I
that a lot, but
yeah,
now
I
I still get invitations, but it's usually academic environment. It's usually another college or university.
right. I used to get invited at least 2-3 times a year to a corporation.
That's right.
I spoke to Chevron, the employees group. I talked to the Army. I talked to the Army one time, and now no one cares. No one cares, especially military, right? With this guy Hegseth, who's running things. So we'll talk about all this
Sure.
This is on November 5th, Main Library, 100 Larkin Street, San Francisco, the Hormel Center, um, third floor. It's free, 5:30 p.m. It lasts about an hour. We'll talk, and we'll take your questions, of course, and we'll record the podcast for the week. But all that coming up on November 5th, free
And
event, San
and
Francisco
just
Public
as
Library.
importantly, we'll hang out afterwards because we want to go get something to eat.
Well, we all right, yeah. Well, we'll look and see what the options are.
We'll see who shows up. Let's see who
Yeah,
shows up. I am
yeah,
getting reaction, so but online it's nice.
yeah.
I get some Facebook reaction.
Well,
But
that's good.
anyway,
Yeah,
what I
I hope
wanted
that.
to do is I wanted to check in on your podcast, more regularly,
Oh,
and obviously show up for your one man shows.
well, thank you. Well, the one man show, as that you are kindly mentioning, that's the next event on November 19th. The one man show is this story time narrative. It's comedy if you laugh, it's drama if you don't. And the hurt line goes back and forth between, oh, I can take it. Oh no, I can't take it. That's not funny. Oh, it's funny again. It's Emil Amok 69 or 69 Emil Amok. It's the same backwards or forwards or upside down. Yeah, that's the beauty of 69. Emil Amok. It's live at the San Francisco Marsh, November 19th. You see the little crawl there if you're watching the screen. Get your tickets now at themarsh.org. That is not a free event, but it could be free. You say, hey, I'll buy a ticket to a meal event.
A very cool
Event.
place in a very cool neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Valencia and 21st.
Valencia, there's a couple of great bars and many restaurants right nearby.
Yeah, 21st or 22nd and Valencia. And here's the thing.
I just like that they call it the Marsh because
the Marsh.
it recognizes the history of that area as being actually built over a marsh. And
Did it
the Marsh
really?
is much better.
I don't know. Is that
you didn't know
real?
that? You didn't know that?
Well,
The Marsh
know.
came right up to
I lived there.
Mission Dolores. The Marsh came
Yeah.
right up to Mission Dolores.
Well, I lived. I grew up there. I grew up on Guerrero and 19th,
Yeah.
which is just a few blocks away.
Well, you're familiar with the fact that houses there that even the multi-story, flats that had 6 units in it, 4 units, 6 units in it, that their basements flooded regularly. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't.
Did you know that there were
but-
running streams right underneath some of the businesses along Mission and down further down Mission towards Potrero?
I did not know that. I did not that. I knew that, the marsh as a metaphor is, for growing things like
That too.
bacteria.
Yeah.
Bacteria, right? Hey, so we have a commenter, an old friend, Juanita. Solai Wilson says, "I'll see you November 5th." Thank you, Juanita.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Juanita. And I hope that people join Juanita because it's a free event. It's at the library and it's fun. And so, yes, Juanita kicks us off, and I hope other people, friends of Juanita, people who aren't friends of Juanita, say, "Yeah, we're going to join. We're going to see what Dan has to say, what Emil has to say." Because, you talk about the academic world and about San Francisco State and your experiences there. I, of course, talk about my media experience. And I talk about, how I went from Reno to Dallas to San Francisco, and I was at KRON when it was an NBC affiliate, and how from there I went to NPR, and I was the host of All Things Considered. But a story I'll tell is how when I went to NPR, one of my favorite people at NPR, and a person who was interested in helping me, was Susan Stamberg. And Susan Stamberg recently passed away, and it was a surprise. She just recently retired, I think, maybe last year. I mean, she worked right up until the end, and her death was a surprise to me. But I had to remember how Susan was. She was the first female to host a national news show. At least that's what NPR is billing her. I don't know where that puts Pauline Fredericks, but Susan Stamberg, all the news dispatches said that. And I was the first Filipino American to host a national news show, and there was something about that there was an an empathy that was always there when I talked to Susan. She was very helpful to me during my time there at NPR. In fact, we used to have lunch regularly, where she would, we'd get to know each other, and she would tell me about what it was like to be the first woman there. So um, that was sort of it came to mind recently when she passed away. And I'll talk about NPR and I'll talk about other things, but we'll talk about the other Filipino American historical points like Larry Itliong Day, which is toward the end. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll assess if that's really taking hold, if people are understanding who Larry is. I know there's lots of opportunity to these days with books, and there's a musical on Larry to understand who he is. But unclear if the progress of Larry Itliong Day and people's assessment of how Larry is, or where Larry is in terms of acceptance by the mainstream. So anyway, lots to talk about. It'll be fun on November 5th, like it'll be fun on November 9th. Well, November 19th, I just talk about life in 2025. It's hard. And that's
harder for more people.
Yeah. And so here we are. So let's get into the regular show. Dan, we usually talk about the news. I think the number one news story for right now is really food stamps and the shutdown. And if a judge now has said that the government is ordered to pay food stamp benefits during the shutdown by this federal judge, and I guess,
but the appellate court has not completely supported her order.
So
they supported most of it.
Yeah.
But they did not agree that the government would have to show up and on a daily basis tell the judge how they had made sure that people were getting their support.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There's a number of this is where the courts are important, and if the courts stand up to Trump, then that's good. But then you got the appellate courts, not just the lower courts, the appellate courts. I mean, this is happening with food stamps. It was happening with the ICE raids, right? It was happening in Chicago. This food stamp order has come down just within the last couple hours. And the judge's order was that it should be done as soon as possible, but there's always this appeal that is in the works. Now, why would anyone? I mean, this is the cruelty of Republican politics in 2025. Why would anyone, knowing that there's a judge's order, they have cover now, they could do it? Why would they still balk at doing the right thing and feeding Americans?
That's a great question, because it doesn't make sense from a tactical, strategic point of view, except that Mr. Trump has not said anything yet. Well, so it all comes down to what he does.
Well, he does say, and this is the weird thing, he did say something yesterday, not about the food stamps and the federal judge's order, but he did say it's time to end this shutdown and let's go with the nuclear option and get rid of the filibuster.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It requires that 60.
Well, what does that mean though? What does that mean? So if they get rid of the filibuster, what does that mean? Does it mean that it no longer exists and nobody gets to use it? Okay.
I think that would they could do limited nuclear option where we don't require the 60 votes, or we just do it. We just do it for this vote, or we do it forever. And I think that Trump, knowing that he may lose this, is trying to get the biggest thing back in return, which would be the end of the filibuster. But it's a double-edged sword, because if he ends the filibuster when the Republicans are in control, they cede power to the majority, and if they're not in the majority, the Republicans have used the filibuster in the past. This very administration has used the filibuster in the past.
That's Senator McConnell's middle name.
Yeah, to stop Democrats.
It's Mitch F. McConnell.
Yeah, and even Thune, the current Senate Majority Leader, he doesn't like it. And the ironic thing is that you have Republicans who only do things that Donald Trump wants. I mean, that's why we have the shutdown. And now
we get criticized. We should let our audience know, man. We hear you. Those people who are critical of us. The problem is they all come up with one came up with really specific criticism. Remember that last year? Yeah. That was a really long statement, and essentially one by one she went through almost every topic that we covered on a given session, and she said false, 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 false. And the funny thing is, she was completely wrong.
Well, this is the thing about trolldom, right? They're always wrong if you're trolling.
Well, see, her premise was right, and the subject matter that she picked was correct, right? So that something happened concerning, let's say, taxation issue. Okay. Yeah. So something happened. Okay. It's just that our position was that the effect that this tax will have is that it's going to hurt middle class, right, Americans. That it shifts the burden down from the billionaire class to middle class America. That's fact.
Yeah, well, you know what bothers me is that you look at the numbers, and well, number one, there's an emergency fund, right? I mean, that's what the federal judge. Yeah, and the Republicans don't want to use it, and then but it gets down to this idea of what is an emergency, because when it comes to sending in the federal troops. Or sending in the National Guard.
But Congress is not suffering an emergency because they're still getting paid.
Yeah, well, I know, but here's the thing.
The lower house is on vacation. Okay,
yeah, but here's the thing. Now. Here's where we're going with this emergency thing, right? It's an emergency if I say it is, and Donald Trump is the arbiter of the emergencies. So if it's an emergency for him,
right.
We'll
just
do
he would be the arbiter of the $230 million, that he wants the DOJ to come up with.
Oh yeah. I mean,
pay me back.
Everything
that I had to defend myself for convictions, 34 convictions. So I want you to pay me back, even though I was friggin' convicted. Okay, and now what they're doing is they're going back on that, and they're saying, no conviction. We're going to undo that. We're going to undo that, just like January 6th wasn't a mob. There was no riot. Okay.
Well, he just has to find someone who will pardon him, right? And or somehow.
One of our latest critics said what? They said, these guys are clowns. They're really evil because they're trying to pretend as though these things actually happen. So I guess he didn't lose the election in 2020. And the riot didn't happen while he was president. Remember how he keeps on saying it? Look at Biden. He was president, man. When people did that, okay? Yeah. He was the guy in the Oval Office. He was watching it happen live.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This is the crux of the food stamp argument of the judge, that there's an emergency funds, use it. But no one wants to define people don't like the judge's definition of emergency. So we'll see how this plays out. We think that just because a judge rules that okay, the government has to act, and it does, but they still have a little way to fight, and that's disconcerting because the deadline is tomorrow. The deadline is the 1st, and then people don't eat. The only people who really eat in America are the millionaires and the billionaires, and that was a weird thing about, I heard this fact that the amount of money the U.S. is giving to Argentina is equal to the amount of money that would have paid for USAID and to help the world.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And it's the same kind of mentality. Who are we helping? Why are we helping? It's like on the Titanic. The Titanic is known for the phrase "women and children first," right? In America, as America goes down, it's like billionaires and maybe not even children, only billionaires first. Billionaires first, and that's the truth about where America is now today.
Well, we're going to be, I guess Mickey D's and all the fast food joints are going to be serving Argentinian beef soon.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Okay.
and well, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I wonder because I'm starting to see things in social media about restaurants that are sympathetic to SNAP users and saying, well, if you got SNAP benefits coming, we're going to feed you for free, and because not everyone is a SNAP beneficiary, and if you're not and you own a restaurant, what a great way to show that you care about the community. There's a pho shop in Oakland that will
Yep.
feed
Yep.
that will feed Asian Americans who are on SNAP, and a significant number. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you guys are all like brains, and you got you got the good jobs and the good grades." And well, some. I mean,
We have high.
generalization.
There are certain ethnic groups that have high poverty rates, substantially high. It's just that they're not as high as African American,
Yeah.
or in some places white people.
Or it's as high, but it's at like one group. It's like the Southeast Asians have traditionally had levels of poverty that were high or have been high. I don't know what it's been lately, but
Yeah,
it's
higher than other Asians,
higher
and
than other Asians.
yeah,
But
and higher
I
than
mean, there are people on SNAP benefits. I know that my family, when I was growing up in the '70s, we had SNAP benefits. We don't, well, they didn't call it SNAP; they called it food stamps. So I remember there
yeah.
were food stamps,
When
and
I was in law school, there were a lot of well-dressed students, okay,
mhm,
wearing penny loafers,
yeah,
and who were on food stamps.
yeah, and they
Oh,
went
and
to.
by the way, they were white.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. The recipients, the majority of the recipients on SNAP tend to be white. They are not, minorities. They're not immigrants. They're not undocumented. They tend to be white.
Same is true of FADC.
Yeah. And
Financial aid to dependent children. The same thing is true. During the Reagan administration, remember when they talked about, people being the generational welfare,
mhm.
welfare mothers, and all that stuff, and
Mhm.
everybody saw welfare as black.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I kept saying, look, here's the stats. The majority of people receiving FADC were white single moms. There, okay?
Yeah. Well, everyone, the trolls, they rely on the stereotypes, the age-old stereotypes, and I think we're dealing with a 79-year-old Trump who doesn't know anything except those stereotypes, but he also knows that his MAGA base loves the stereotype. They love to beat that stereotype. So
They're not stereotypes, they're truth. They're gospel.
yeah,
That's the problem. And
yeah.
I mean to use the word gospel
Mhm. Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
because a lot of them are self-professed Christians.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the irony. Maybe the biggest irony. If you're Christian, what do you do? How do you? I mean, I. Someone mentioned today where the Republicans aren't there on the food stamp line or on the soup lines or the soup kitchens or the food pantries because they know that people would show their ire to the Republicans who have forced this shutdown and who have forced to move. Meanwhile, the Democrats are out in soup kitchens and they're out in food pantries and they're out there helping their people. And so,
And in Democratic states, several of them, and Democratic cities, San Francisco in particular, right,
yeah.
has a SNAP program.
Oh
To
yeah.
Okay, Lurie has taken the emergency budget, right, and
Yeah.
moved several $1 million over to make it accessible
Right.
to food distribution centers, right, as well as to individual families. So they're ready for tomorrow. If it breaks, then we've got cover here. But
Yeah.
how many other cities are going to be able to do that or be willing to do that, right?
Well, if you have the wherewithal, you hope they do it, or you hope that this was the whole thing about the Bush administration, the first one, right? 1,000 points of light, that
Right.
everyone pitches in. Uh, this is, I guess, the biggest disappointment when you don't see people as generous and as humane as they could be when they talk a good game in church, but the reality is less than.
Well,
And
they also were the champions of anti-crime. Remember
Yeah.
how well they were able to pass three strikes you're out,
Oh yeah.
and you know what harm it did to the society in general, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
but they were willing to do that, and they did it even though the crime rate was going down.
Yeah.
Similarly, now you have ICE firing bullets into cars with unarmed people. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is really crazy. That
Yeah.
they
Well.
brand cars, they brand people, and the only thing that I see that was in common, and several of the people were citizens.
Mhm.
Okay, and a couple of them were veterans.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, you
so
got a lot of ICE people who are just going rogue, and a lot of
well, that's
people
the
who
kind of
shouldn't
people
be.
they're recruiting.
Yeah, the people who shouldn't be in ICE are in ICE because they're desperate to stock these groups with people who will just do the bidding of the president, and then now I guess you have people who are being replaced in ICE who will take seriously the 3,000 arrests quota that is scary.
Yeah, yeah.
3,000 arrest quota doesn't mean that's your gross number. What do you net? What do you net out of that, right? Is that a net
Oh
or a
God.
gross number? Because if it's a gross number, then they'll be arresting everybody, to get the numbers. That's the fear, that it's a
Yeah.
gross number, not the net number. Okay, look, we've talked about food stamps. Let's cross our fingers and hope that everyone eats tonight. If people show up to your doorstep to ask for candy, give them more, I guess.
Yeah,
I
we,
guess. I
we
guess.
joined that grocery bag thing that Safeway's offering,
Yeah.
and so we signed up for that. We're doing lots of bags.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think it's strange that it's coming up, and it's Halloween, as I mentioned. People are celebratory. I don't get too celebratory on Halloween. I don't know. Am I a
I used to
Scrooge?
love it. I used to
Yeah,
love it, and it was easier to do when the kids were kids, right? When our kids were
yeah,
kids, of course.
yeah.
But then our block was really one of the greatest blocks in the city,
Oh
and
yeah. Hey,
unfortunately, unfortunately, we got too much TV coverage,
yeah.
and as a
Oh yeah.
result, people came here
From
and they
other
got
places,
sloppy.
from other neighborhoods.
Yep, from
Yeah,
everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
they came from out of town,
Hey,
and
our I where I grew up like 19, like around Dolores Parks and 19th and Guerrero, but there was a group on 20th and Sanchez, right up the hill from that
right.
golden hydrant, and that association of neighbors threw a big thing every year. It was always fun, and when I was a kid, we'd go there, and the exact same thing happened. More people showed up from other places, and it
Yep,
was all right, but it got too big. It was no
yep.
longer a local, neighborhood thing. So I don't know. I just think that am I a Halloween Scrooge if my daughter invites me to the Rocky Horror Picture Show and demands that I get dressed up and I don't feel like dressing up? Is that not being in the spirit?
And it's being a
I,
little tired. It's probably being a little tired, you know.
I don't know if it's tired. I don't even know if the fishnets still fit. So I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know what to
yeah, well,
do.
I
No,
wasn't thinking.
no,
I
I am
wasn't
not
thinking
gonna
in
go.
terms
I
of
am not gonna go.
5-inch spiked heels and fishnet. No,
No, I
but
am not
whatever,
gonna go. I
whatever
am not
floats your
gonna
boat,
go.
bro.
I am not gonna go. That was
Whatever
just
floats your
that,
boat.
that was just a throwaway image.
God,
Just a
I gotta get
throwaway
that
image.
image out of my head
A
now, man.
throwaway image.
You
Okay,
ruined
so
my day. I got.
all
Jeez.
right. So Halloween, there is a religious sense, right? Right, Day of the Dead's coming up, All
Sure.
Souls Day, All Saints Day, very religious. So, I don't want to poo-poo it too much, but maybe you could draw from the day, where your comfort level is, and pray for the souls, and pray for the good goblins, not the bad ones, or pray for the bad ones too. Hey, you know what I noticed? DreamWorks, Spielberg's thing, is doing a thing with Filipino, spirits and all that,
The
mystical.
Aswang? Is it
Yeah,
going
the
to do the
Aswang.
Aswang?
They're gonna do, and they've signed up people like Leah Salonga, all these Filipino and Filipino American stars. They're gonna try to commercialize Filipino culture, and part of me says, "Oh, that's kind of cool," but I don't know. Well, I don't really feel good about it.
I wonder who got to him and why he wants to do this. I mean, he must have
Um,
some Filipino friends or something. You know, there's got to be
it,
something.
well, he did. He bankrolled Joe Coy before Joe Coy bankrupted him, and and no, he was a big booster of Joe Coy for a while, and so maybe
Uh,
someone said, "Here's a book. Here's an idea. We can have
okay, I
this is a."
guess. Wait, so both of us are part of the Joy Coy ain't that funny group.
No, I know Joe Coy's cool. I mean, I defended him when he bombed at the Golden Globes, but I think he's all right. I mean, he's funny, but not, not. I mean,
You know, I seen quite a few people that are funnier, but anyway.
yeah,
But I'm
all right,
biased. I'm biased because some
yeah.
of them are my former students and stuff.
I
So.
know, I know. So I think that I don't want to be critical of Steven Spielberg because with one phone call he can change my life. So I don't want to like sound
It could
too.
go. Yeah, I've never heard of him doing bad things to people. But so if you're saying he could change your life, he probably would help you. You know, spend your.
Yeah. He'd say, "Hey, look, why don't you be a sidekick to some late night talk show host, and you could be Guillermo versus Guillermo. You could be
Yeah.
Guillermo." So, all right. So Halloween, I don't know. I'm kind of
You're
lukewarm.
not
A
doing
lot of
it.
people.
You know, see, we're supposed to be giving away candy, man, and that's not good. It's not good for the kids' health and all that. There's a limited amount of sugarless candy out there. It ain't very good. The
No,
stuff.
no, you're right. I mean, I just think
Yeah,
that yeah, it's just I don't know, just I
yeah,
don't know.
it's kind of a bummer, man. It's kind of a bummer. And the days when things were so safe, you didn't have to worry about people spiking the oranges or whatever. Uh,
Apples, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
bobbing for apples. If you haven't bobbed for apples, you should just say I'm staying home and we're gonna have an apple bobbing in our house, and
right.
that's kind of fun. Apple bobbing. Apple bobbing is you know.
Yeah, especially if you use big apples.
Oh
It,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's hard to get a hold of. You got to whack them hard. It could
But
cost you. It could cost you an incisor. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it's just if you haven't done it,
Yeah.
bobbing for apples is kind of fun. All right, so look, the World Series is also today. I'm rooting. I
Big
was
time.
almost ready to change my name to Emil Guillermo Tani, but he is still the greatest. But it takes more than one guy. You got to be a team. So they're going back to Toronto. I think. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to survive Game 6. Although Yamamoto's pitching, so they probably
Yeah,
will.
Yamamoto. That's their shot. That's it
Yeah,
right there. That's their
but
shot.
maybe the Torontons. It's that poutine power. That poutine power gets them going. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then I'd like to see it end Game 6, but if it goes Game 7, that'd be great because Game 7 is a special phrase in baseball. Hey, when I talked to you, you mentioned this, and you mentioned Prince Andrew. He gave up his status
the former,
the
the
other
former Prince Andrew.
yeah, he gave up his status the other day, and today he's stripped of everything by the family. They're kicking him out into
Except his clothes. He's stripped of everything except his clothes.
he still has the one uniform that makes him look like Michael Jackson. No. Oh, he's a different army. Different
And
army.
he's not going to be out on the street. He's not going to be, out on the street, homeless.
Yeah, and his
He's going to be kept up at some of the king's private property.
Sandringham, I believe, Sandringham, which is a lesser property, not as royal. I mean, it's not royal, but he still remains eighth in line to the throne, which is like eighth. Forget it. You'll be dead before it gets to you, right? Eighth.
Yeah.
But symbolically, they leave him in the fold, but he's got no shot. He's got no shot. Because if he's eighth, guess what? Guess who's ninth on the royalty list?
I have no idea. You are?
Me. I'm ninth.
Oh,
I'm
you're
ninth. Yeah.
Okay.
King Emil or Prince Emil. Although I get to keep the prince. Hey,
Okay.
so Andrew, but Andrew, this is all because of Epstein, all because of of the Epstein book that came out, Virginia Giuffre's book, that
Yeah.
identified what that really said what Andrew did with uh, with Jeffrey Epstein and with Virginia Giuffre. It's a sad book. I bought it, reading through it. It's
Oh,
just it's gross. But
bring it with you. Bring it with you.
oh,
Um,
I got the Kindle version, Kindle version.
oh, okay. Kindle there. All
Yeah.
right. I'll
So
check it out. I'll check it
but
out.
I just think it's sad. But what it means though is that there is a way to publicly react to Epstein, just like the British have
Yep. There it is.
publicly reacted to Epstein, and it's the reason why the United States president, the sitting United States president, does not want you to know about Jeffrey Epstein and his involvement.
Well,
I mean,
there's a possibility that Acosta might get called back before Congress again because there's now a whole lot of evidence that that there was an investigation going on across the board, and that there were other people in Congress that were also involved in stuff. There was also an investigation going on into congressional participation or support of January 6th that was curtailed under Acosta, right? While he was arranging for the soft landing for Mr. Epstein. So he's going to be on the front burner again, and even if he escapes temporarily, if the Democrats win the lower house, you can bet that they're going to go after him hard.
yeah.
Real.
Well, this is the thing. They've already the House has been in such. It's like Trump is playing the House by remote control, and Mike Johnson is doing anything that Trump wants. I don't know how far he can get away with it or how long he can get away with it, but you know that if California votes on 50 on Tuesday,
Yep.
and I mean the numbers still don't really work out into, I mean, the
Yeah,
Democrats
because
are going to have to
yeah,
squeeze out
red state.
more.
That's
Yeah,
right. The other red
but
states. There's going to have to be other states that maybe are purple or that have clearly a blue
yeah,
tendency, right, to do the same kind of thing.
yeah, but
And that's what
it's
people are worried about is that we'll still get outvoted. It will still, we still won't have the congressional majority that we need.
yeah, and that's. I mean, you look at the numbers and it's disheartening, but you got to hope that the Epstein story is such that, I keep telling you about, something happens, Trump does something, and you turn to your friend and say, now you're ready to flip. And they all say, no, 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 we love Trump. And then so he does something else to top that. And then you say, now are you ready? And they keep saying no. They keep saying no. And you keep wondering, is Epstein the thing? Is it? I think Donald Trump thinks Epstein is the thing. He doesn't want
Well,
to.
I think he's worried that he's going to, even if look at the polls right now, right?
Mhm.
On everything, there's a consistent group, right? It's around
Right.
20%. 20% of the population hangs in there no matter what. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the topic happens to be. If it's immigration, right? If it's the economy, if it's Iran, Ukraine, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Okay, there's that same 28% that are just steadfast, and I think what he's afraid is he's going to lose some of that.
And that's all you need to. I mean, it's such a thin margin overall that if he loses that, I mean, the fact that he lost as many uh, black and Hispanics and Asians. I mean, forget the base. He gained blacks, Hispanics, and Asians. And now we're seeing trends that show the Hispanics don't like him as much. The blacks are coming to their senses again.
Yeah.
And
Well, we
and
had a lot of discussions about that in past shows,
yeah,
and I said, look, they just can't accept that Trump is a racist. They won't accept that that's his thing. That's who
yeah,
he is. That's who Stephen Miller is.
yeah.
They
Well, I mean,
just come right out and say it. They don't even
well,
have the delicate touch, if we could call it that, of a Steve Bannon, right?
yeah.
They don't even have that. They're just blatantly racist.
Well, here, I mean, when they go after Snap, and Snap, here's the thing. His assumption is
It's the
that Snap,
Democrats, man. It's
yeah,
Democrat. That's a Democrat thing.
no. His assumption is that it's blacks and Hispanics and poor people,
It's a
and
Democrat thing.
the reality is, Snap is poor whites who backed him.
Just like FADC, man.
Yeah,
Come on
yeah. So,
now. Except
so
it's not
I
just
just
women.
think that
It's poor
he, he's
white
playing.
everybody, regardless of gender, regardless of sexuality. You know, it's everybody. So
Well,
this is still a white majority country. Anybody notice?
yeah. No, look, it's still, well, they keep saying the minorities will be the majority by 2030, 25. I mean, it's creeping up there. This is why you have JD Vance talking about birthright or birth rates. And this is why you have people talking about population replacement theory. This is how it happens. This is how it starts. It's a very racist kind of thing. Instead of looking at the natural evolution of our country as it becomes browner and darker and more immigrant. That should be a beautiful thing. But we
Yeah,
get
but
to this
you
point.
see a lot of the people who get an education, a lot of the people who
Mm,
get into trades that are still going to be of value into the AI future. The
mm,
reality is they get into the middle class, and then when
yeah.
they get into the middle class, they turn more conservative. Okay,
Oh yeah. Well, that's true. Look,
once again across racial lines, right? They
yeah,
tend to tend more conservative. But if that's not enough, it's not enough that a lot more people of color, when they achieve higher class status, when they succeed, they turn a little more conservative. It makes sense, right? Because they want to
yeah,
protect now what they've gained. Okay, but that's not enough for people on the hard right who are white and who are invested in their whiteness. People don't get it. They won't accept it. Okay. At a
that what
recent
they won't
event,
accept. They won't accept what?
they won't accept that the society still has the vestiges of racism, okay, as major motivation for so many Americans. Okay. It
Yeah,
varies in different degrees. People
yeah.
people think that in order to be seen as racist, you have to come right out and call somebody the N-word, okay, or whatever your favorite word happens to be. Okay.
Mm,
The reality is that racism comes in a various degrees and forms, and that institutionally American society is still racist.
yeah.
Okay, and
Well,
the proof
I
of that is voter suppression. What
yeah,
are they doing? Okay,
yeah,
that's live and active. Destroying the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, right? That's live and active, and that's one of the issues that I've been raising. I said, okay, so what if district judges and even appellate courts, right,
mm,
say you're violating the Constitution, right? Who's gonna one? Okay, it goes to the Supreme Court, and look at the kind of decisions they've been making over the last 8 years.
all right. Look, I buy into that. I say, yeah, people, it's a racist country, yes, but I'm just saying that with Trump is so scared of Epstein. He's so
Yeah,
scared of those Epstein files
yeah,
that
that's his thing. That's
that
his thing. Yeah, he's afraid that that's going to affect people. But why is he afraid? Okay, why is it that bad? Okay, I'm looking at he's scared because it could be that bad.
yeah, I don't know how bad it could be, but if he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and if you read between the lines of that letter that he wrote, it's hard to imagine that he didn't share in some of the joys of Epstein.
Well, he
Yeah.
said he never went to the island.
Well, I don't know. You don't have to go to the island to take
Yeah,
part.
that's
I
right.
mean,
That's
you
right.
could be right there in uptown, east side, Manhattan. So I just think
We
uh,
at least have agreed, right, that it's not as bad as what he thinks. But I like the fact that he's scared. I just
yeah,
don't think
he
that it's
he
going to have
doesn't
that much
know.
effect.
Well,
I don't think it's
he's
going to have
always
effect on
he's
the
always been
magnitude.
he's always been scared, but he's overcome. Like this could be another Access Hollywood tape where it looks scary, but and it should have a lesser politician would have been sunk, but for some reason Trump survives, and that's scary.
Yeah,
that's scary. That's scary. So, all right, well, we've come to the end of our program.
All right,
Dan.
Yeah, we're done.
So let's tease one more time. November 5th, Public Library, Main Library, San Francisco, 100 Larkin Street. We're at the. It says the. Did I say Hormer Center? It's the Hormel Center.
Yeah. Last week I think you had Horny.
But no, okay. I said the meats. We've got the meats.
Yeah, we got
Hormel.
Yeah, Hormel.
Hormel.
Right.
That's bacon. That's bacon.
It's bacon.
Yeah. So 5:30.
Don't mention it to Kath.
Yeah, and then of course I do my one-man show on the 19th. But the 19th, separate thing. This thing on November 5th. It should be fun, and we've got a striker. One of the San Francisco State strikers, Daniel Phil Gonzalez.
One of the few, but nonetheless, I was part of a team.
Yeah. I want to ask you. I'll save this for the day, but because this is a rear view mirror moment when you look at what ethnic studies evolved into and how it's under attack now. So save that answer. And, we'll talk about that as well as other aspects of Filipino American history and ethnic studies, American history, Filipino.
Yeah, we're commemorating annually. We have an annual commemoration of the beginning of the strike every November 6th. So that's what I'll be doing on the 6th.
Is it the 6th? Oh, well, then we're right on. We're right on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And Veterans Day. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the veteranos too. So we got a lot to talk about, and we didn't even touch on it today. But if Zoran Mamdani wins in New York, what does that mean? What does that mean to democratic socialism?
Yeah, Jesus. The Republicans. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. All right. So Dan, have a great non-Halloween.
I put up a sign. It's a peace sign. It says peace and love. No treat.
Yeah. No treat. Oh, that's good. That's good. Hey, look, there's no hate, no treat, but no treat. Yeah. All right. So there he goes. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus. And what we'll see on November 5th, Dan.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday. And see you there, Juanita. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. November 5th. There he goes, Dan. And really, Dan is being modest. He was one of the strikers out there. 68, 69. He said he was doing the quiet work, which was putting together the curriculum. And thank goodness. So I'm going to ask him, a question. We'll talk about after the strike. What does it mean to have ethnic studies now when the world is anti-woke, or at least the Trump world is anti-woke, anti-diversity, and what that means in terms of the importance of ethnic studies and Filipino American studies now more than ever. So that's what we'll talk about, among other things. November 5th, San Francisco Public Library, 100 Larkin Street, 3rd floor. It's free, 5:30 p.m. 5:30 p.m. So after work, come on down. We'll record the podcast and also do a live show. All right. And also, hey, look, I want to mention, and if you like that, you might like the show I do, a little more entertaining. Well, Dan and I are always entertaining. But on November 19th at the SF Marsh, I do my one-man show, 7:30 p.m. Get your tickets now. Go to themarsh.org for information and for tickets. And so that's it. That's our show for today. Hey, listen, thank you for joining me in my gong closet. I like to close with a little meditation, because, it's about loving kindness. Think about that, loving kindness. Could you even have a snap dilemma if the world believed in loving kindness? Sharon Salzberg, one of the meditative gurus I've learned from in the past. This was her meditation. And so it's important. I mean, if all of us just said this meditation, maybe we'd be more loving, more kind. I don't know. We especially need it now when politicians seem hell-bent on cruelty. Anyway, the loving kindness meditation goes like this. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Living with ease. That's a goal. Emil Guillermo here. Emil Amok to you. Till next time.